It started on a quiet, rainy afternoon in late autumn. The kind where leaves dance across the driveway, and the world feels just a little slower. I had just turned 21, a senior in college returning home for Thanksgiving break. My name is Ethan Carter, and I never expected a family reunion to shift the entire course of my life. My dad, Michael Carter, had remarried 2 years ago. His new wife, Amanda, was younger than him by almost 15 years. I remember meeting her for the first time, elegant, composed, the kind of person who knew how to own a room with a smile. She wasn't like my mother, who had passed away when I was in high school. Amanda was full of light, laughter, and warmth. Back then, I didn't know how much that warmth would mean to me. When I walked into our family house that evening, Amanda was the first to greet me at the door. She wore a soft beige sweater and blue jeans, her chestnut hair tucked loosely behind her ears. She smiled as she opened her arms. "Ethan, you've grown so much," she said with genuine excitement, pulling me into a hug. It was innocent, but something about the way she held me longer than just a polite hello lingered in my mind. Over the next few days, the house buzzed with family chatter, football on TV, and the smell of cinnamon pies in the oven. Dad was often out meeting old friends or running errands, leaving Amanda and me alone more than either of us expected. We started talking, really talking, not just about school or plans, but about life. She asked about my dreams, my writing, my doubts, and even my fears. I was used to people treating me like a college kid, but Amanda saw me as something more, someone worth understanding. One evening, while Dad was at a late work dinner, Amanda and I sat together in the living room watching an old romantic movie. The lights were dim, the fire crackled softly, and the scent of her jasmine tea drifted into the air. We sat on the same couch, just a cushion apart. The on-screen characters whispered confessions of love, and as I turned to comment on it, I noticed Amanda was already looking at me. There was a moment, a silence that wasn't awkward but electric. She gave a small laugh, like she was brushing off something serious. "Sorry," she whispered. "You remind me of someone I used to love." Her voice was soft, vulnerable. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. I simply nodded. "Sometimes I feel like I never got to know what love really looks like," I admitted. "But you have a way of making things feel easier." Amanda smiled, then looked away, sipping her tea. The fire reflected in her eyes. "You're kind, Ethan," she said. "A lot more mature than people your age." That night stayed with me. I couldn't sleep. My thoughts kept returning to the way she'd looked at me, not like a son, not like a friend, but something else. Something I didn't dare name. The next day, the snow began to fall. I offered to help Amanda clean out the garage. We were both bundled up, brushing off dusty boxes and laughing at old photos. At one point, I slipped on a loose rug and fell back into her. She caught me, both of us laughing until our faces were inches apart. There was a pause again, that charged silence. Amanda reached up and tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear. "You're sweet," she whispered. "But this, whatever this is, it can't go anywhere." I nodded. I understood. And yet, neither of us stepped away. After Thanksgiving dinner, Dad announced he'd be flying out early to meet a client for a 3-day work trip. Amanda and I pretended to act normal, saying goodbye with smiles and waves. The moment the door closed, the air shifted between us. That evening, Amanda made dinner, spaghetti with garlic bread, just the two of us. We talked about our favorite books, our childhood memories, even our regrets. I confessed that I always felt out of place in college, like I didn't belong with anyone. She listened, and for the first time, I felt heard. After dinner, she walked over to the piano in the living room and started playing. I didn't even know she could. I watched her fingers dance across the keys, her face serene. I joined her, sitting beside her on the bench. "You're incredible," I said quietly. She looked at me, smiling. "You make me feel alive again, Ethan." It wasn't planned. There were no lines, no intentions. But something about that night felt like destiny pulling us toward something forbidden, something terrifyingly beautiful. We didn't cross any lines, nothing inappropriate happened. But we talked, late into the night, about everything we were too afraid to say before. About loneliness, about being misunderstood, about how the world never prepared us for these emotions. And somehow, in the comfort of shared pain, we found a strange sort of love. The next morning, reality hit like cold water. We both knew things couldn't continue this way. Amanda sat me down at the kitchen table, her eyes red-rimmed. "Ethan," she said, "you're someone I care deeply about. But you deserve someone who can love you without shame, without barriers." I nodded, swallowing the ache. "I know." When Dad returned, things went back to normal on the surface. We exchanged polite smiles, short conversations. But underneath, something had changed forever. After winter break, I went back to college. I threw myself into my writing, fueled by everything I couldn't say aloud. I wrote stories about impossible loves, quiet heartbreaks, and stolen moments. And every now and then, Amanda would send me short texts, "Hope you're doing okay," or "Just finished that book you recommended." That was it. No promises, no confessions. Just fragments of what we once were. Years passed. I graduated, moved to Chicago, started working as a journalist. Dad and Amanda eventually divorced amicably, quietly. They simply drifted apart, and neither seemed surprised by it. I didn't reach out to her. I thought maybe that chapter had closed. Until one day, a message popped up on my phone. "In town for a week. Coffee." It was Amanda. We met at a small cafe near the lake. She looked older, but still radiant. We talked like old friends, not ex-stepfamily, not star-crossed hearts. There was no regret in her eyes, only peace. "You've done well," she said, smiling as she held my book in her hands. "I always knew you would." We didn't talk about the past, not directly. But as we walked along the lake afterward, she took my hand, just for a moment. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me when no one else did." I squeezed her hand gently. "You saved me," I replied. That was the last time we met. Not because we didn't care, but because we finally understood some stories aren't meant to go on forever. Some are written to teach us something about who we are. To this day, Amanda remains a quiet, unspoken part of my life. She isn't a regret. She isn't a scandal. She's a memory. A tender, rare kind of love that shaped the man I became. Not all love stories need a forever. Sometimes, the ones that matter most are the ones that bloom in silence and end with grace.